Dean Martin's life was often portrayed as the ultimate expression of charm, a man whose easygoing, carefree persona made him the star of countless performances and movies. On stage, he dazzled with his deep voice, sharp humor, and effortless charisma. Yet, away from the spotlight, there existed a man who was far more private and introspective than most could ever imagine. Despite his public image as a heavy drinker, Martin's true habits were often far different. He cleverly swapped liquor for apple juice at performances, playing into the act for comedic effect rather than indulging in his supposed vice. Beneath the jokes and the persona, however, there was a deep emotional complexity. Martin, although a devoted father, kept his feelings close to the chest, even from those he loved most. He built walls around his personal life, balancing the need for privacy with his career in the public eye. But as time went on, those walls began to crumble, especially as his personal secrets were revealed by the people closest to him. His carefully constructed image was slowly undone, leading to a painful unraveling of the man behind the myth. Dean Martin was born as Dino Paul Crocetti on June 7, 1917, in Steubenville, Ohio. His parents, Gaetano and Angela Crocetti, had immigrated from Italy. Gaetano worked as a barber, often putting in long hours to support his family. Angela, on the other hand, nurtured Dino's early interest in music. The family held tightly to their Italian heritage, speaking only Italian at home. This made Dino feel isolated when he entered English-speaking classrooms, as he did not begin learning English until around the age of 5. The language barrier led to teasing and bullying by his classmates, and these early experiences left Dino with a sense of alienation. The divide between his Italian home life and the American school environment made him feel like an outsider, a feeling that would stay with him throughout his life. Rather than causing him to retreat, these hardships sparked a sense of resilience in Dino. He developed an independence that influenced many of his decisions later in life, including his reluctance to embrace fame fully. His early years shaped his personality, making him deeply self-reliant and determined to control his destiny, no matter what. By the time Dean Martin reached high school, he had worked hard to shed most of his Italian accent, but he still did not feel comfortable in the school environment. The strict rules and traditional lessons did not inspire him, and he often felt out of place among students who followed a different path. Because of this, he made a daring choice to leave school during his 10th year. He believed that real life and experience could teach him more than any classroom ever could. Without many formal skills, he relied on his street smarts and confidence to start a new journey. His first jobs were tough and unusual. He worked as a laborer in a steel mill in Ohio, where the work was hard and messy. During the last days of Prohibition, he even tried illegal liquor running, which showed his willingness to take risks and challenge authority. These jobs were not just about making money, they showed his restless spirit and desire to do things his way. Dean's decision to leave school was not reckless, it was a deliberate move to control his future. He believed that his charm, energy, and determination could lead him further than traditional lessons. His gamble was risky but eventually successful, though it took many years of hard work, mistakes, and survival in the shadows of society for him to reach his goals. After exploring different paths in his youth, Dean Martin's early life included a surprising chapter where he briefly took on the identity of a prizefighter. Under the nickname Kid Crochet, he entered the world of amateur boxing, not with the hopes of becoming a champion, but mainly to earn quick money and to test his strength and resilience. His time in the ring was intense and quick. He took more hits than he delivered. He suffered bruises, a broken nose, and countless other cuts during these bouts. Despite the pain, Dean learned valuable lessons about how to handle pressure and withstand blows, both physically and mentally. However, his fight career was only a small part of his underground hustle. Alongside his friend Sonny King, Dean operated an illegal fight club from their apartment in New York. This informal fight club drew local spectators who paid to watch bare-knuckle fights in cramped, unsafe conditions. The fights were chaotic, dangerous, and illegal, but they gave Dean a unique education in showmanship and risk management. These rough encounters helped shape his future performances, making him calm and confident under pressure. Before he ever graced stages with bright lights or acted in movies, Dean Martin learned how to entertain a crowd, take risks, and handle chaos with the instincts of a seasoned performer. His early experiences in the fight world, though brief, played a key role in developing his confident stage presence and ability to control a room, laying the foundation for his later success. After leaving behind the brutal, unpredictable world of underground boxing, Dean Martin found himself working the night shift at a local speakeasy, an illegal bar hidden behind an ordinary storefront. This job combined his natural charm, toughness, and showmanship. During the day, he dealt cards and ran errands, but at night, he became the unofficial host of the bar. Often, he would pick up a microphone and sing familiar tunes, quickly gaining attention with his smooth voice. At first, his set lists included covers of popular crooners like Bing Crosby and Perry Como, but there was something about Dean that made him stand out. His rich, effortless baritone was different from others, and his relaxed, cool attitude made him both approachable and captivating. Regulars and passersby soon heard about the singing dealer, and Dean began getting small singing gigs in clubs and lounges across Ohio and Pennsylvania. These early performances were tough, often long hours with little money in smoky, noisy venues. Still, they were important because they marked the beginning of his journey as a performer destined for bigger things. At that time, he was still known by his birth name, Dino Crocetti. He didn't realize then that fame would require more than just talent. He would need to craft a new, carefully chosen identity to become the star the world would later know him as, Dean Martin. Because Dino Crocetti's reputation grew, he faced many obstacles, especially the prejudice against Italians that was common in America during the mid-20th century. Many club owners hesitated to book him because they feared his Italian name would turn audiences away. Encouraged by a bandleader who believed in his talent, Crocetti reluctantly decided to change his name. He first tried Dino Martini, a tribute to the famous opera singer Nino Martini, hoping it would help him get better gigs. Although the name was catchy, it still highlighted his Italian roots. Ultimately, he chose the name Dean Martin, which sounded smooth, American, and timeless. This change was not only professional but also deeply personal. Dean Martin became more than a new name. It was like armor that let him step into the role of a charming, carefree singer that people loved. Behind that charming exterior, however, he faced struggles with his identity and his family life. His rising fame created tension with his wife Betty McDonald, with whom he had 4 children. Betty wanted stability and a normal home life, but Dean was chasing his dreams late into the night. Rebranding himself opened the door to fame, but it also made a gap between the man he truly was and the image he needed to show in public. Over time, this gap would become even wider, shaping much of his life and career. When Dean Martin first met Jerry Lewis in 1946, everything changed for both of them. Dean had been booked at the Glass Hat Club in New York City, and he was soon to share the stage with a rising slapstick comic named Jerry Lewis. At first, their chemistry seemed missing. Their first performance together was quickly put together and chaotic. It was met with confusion and only mild applause. However, instead of giving up, both men decided to embrace the spontaneity and improvisation. They began to experiment with their act, discovering a special and almost magical connection. Dean's smooth singing voice and calm style complemented Jerry's wild, physical comedy in a perfect way. Audiences quickly became enchanted with their mix of charm and chaos, grace and silliness. Within just a few weeks, they were headlines, performing in nightclubs and selling out shows. Their act was not only funny but also unique, exciting audiences with its unpredictable and lively nature. By 1948, they had become famous across the country, especially after appearing on The Ed Sullivan Show, where millions of viewers watched them with delight. Hollywood also took notice, and soon they signed film contracts. Their team, known as Martin and Lewis, became a household name, symbolizing fun, glamour, and entertainment. Their rise was fast and impressive, but even as they enjoyed success, the tension and differences that would later cause issues were quietly beginning to grow beneath the surface. After their rise to fame, Martin and Lewis became among the most popular stars in America. They appeared in 16 hit movies, hosted radio shows, and performed live in front of large audiences all over the country. Their films, such as My Friend Irma and The Caddy, showed their unique chemistry, where Dean's singing talents complemented Jerry's wild comedy. Their performances often featured Dean as the calm, straight man who kept the act grounded, while Jerry played the zany, unpredictable character. This odd couple dynamic made them very popular, and their movies drew big crowds. However, as their fame grew, problems began to emerge. Critics liked to praise Jerry Lewis for his comedic talent, which sometimes made Dean feel overlooked. Dean had always considered their partnership as a shared journey, but he started to feel pushed aside, and less important. He was naturally easygoing, hiding his frustrations, but he was upset as Jerry gained more control behind the scenes. The breaking point came in 1954. when Look magazine published a cover story that only featured Jerry Lewis, which made Dean feel invisible and like an accessory to Jerry's success. After finishing the film Hollywood or Bust in 1956, Dean decided to end their partnership, and it was done quietly and without much fuss. Their split was sudden, cold, and emotionally difficult. Attendant fans were sad to see their favorite duo break up. But Dean was determined to show that he was more than just the backup partner. He wanted to stand on his own and prove he could succeed without Jerry Lewis, ready to start a new chapter in his career and redefine himself as a solo artist. After the emotional breakup of Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin's career did not simply fade away. Instead, he adapted and grew more successful than ever. By the late 1950s, Dean had become part of a very special group known as the Rat Pack. This exclusive circle was led by his close friend Frank Sinatra. The group also included Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford, and Joey Bishop. Together, they represented the style, attitude, and spirit of mid-century America. They were famous for their glamorous appearances, rebellious attitude, and masculinity. The Rat Pack was well known for their shows on the Las Vegas Strip, where they turned simple performances into exciting events that attracted big crowds. Their stage acts were full of surprises, humor, and energy. Dean's relaxed way of speaking, casual jokes, and smooth voice fit perfectly with the group's fun-loving spirit. He was often the one to bring humor and calmness during busy, unpredictable shows. While Sinatra was known for being passionate and intense, Dean kept a cool and easygoing presence, making everything look effortless even amid backstage chaos. Offstage, the Rat Pack's lifestyle included late-night parties, social connections with politicians, and gossip about Hollywood stars. Dean's style added a touch of class to all of it. More than just a singer, an actor, Dean Martin became a symbol of charm and confidence, a man comfortable with chaos and always at ease, making him a lasting icon of an era. Certainly, by the mid-1960s, Dean Martin had become more than just a singer or actor. He had become a true cultural fixture in America. In 1965, he launched The Dean Martin Show on NBC, a variety program that broke away from traditional TV formats. This show was known for its relaxed style and spontaneity, which made it very different from other shows of the time. Dean Martin's approach was informal and unrehearsed, contributing to its charm. He would walk onto the set with a cigarette in his hand and take a sip from a rocks glass, often joking and stumbling through routines in a playful manner. His humor was laid back and effortless, often using self-deprecating jokes to connect with the audience. Dean's natural way of being himself made viewers feel like they were watching a friend rather than a performer. The behind-the-scenes chaos was obvious at times, as Dean disliked rehearsals and preferred to rely on instinct and cue cards. This authenticity and spontaneity attracted many viewers, helping the show become extremely popular. It aired for 9 years, producing a total of 264 episodes, and inspired spin-offs such as the Dean Martin Celebrity Roast. Still, some audiences, especially those who spoke Italian, reacted with mixed feelings. His casual use of Italian slang and profanity was sometimes controversial because it was delivered in such a relaxed style that it occasionally slipped past censors. Despite these challenges, Dean Martin's magnetic presence kept the show a television mainstay and fueled his reputation as an entertainer who defied rules and expectations, always staying true to his own unique style. Since the beginning of his career, Dean Martin became known not only for his smooth singing voice and charismatic presence but also for his public persona as a lovable drunk. This image portrayed him as a carefree singer who seemed to enjoy life with a cocktail in hand, often slipping into jokes, and a laid-back demeanor that made him stand out among other stars. Many fans believed that Dean was always a bit tipsy, and that alcohol was an essential part of his nightly performances. This myth became a key part of his identity because it made him seem more relatable and charming, as if he was just a man having fun without a worry in the world. However, the real truth behind this persona was very different. In reality, Dean rarely drank to excess, and during shows, he often substituted apple juice for alcohol to maintain his act. His slurred speech and wobbly walk were not signs of drunkenness, but carefully planned elements of his stage presence. Dean understood how powerful his image was, and he used this persona intentionally to disarm critics and connect with audiences. It was a way to create a relaxed, humorous atmosphere that kept fans entertained without revealing his true self. Behind the scenes, Dean was a quiet and disciplined man who preferred simple pleasures like playing cards with friends and relaxing at home. He was not a heavy drinker, but played the role convincingly, even going as far as having a license plate that read "Drunkie" to reinforce the image he carefully crafted. This contrast between his public persona and private reality revealed the brilliance of his performance skills. He knew how to entertain and hide his true personality behind a carefully constructed image. His mastery of this illusion was part of what made him one of Hollywood's most enduring figures, showing that off-screen, Dean was more disciplined and reserved than the carefree, drunken crooner people thought they knew. As the 1970s unfolded, Dean Martin's personal life began to show cracks that fame could no longer conceal. His second marriage to former Orange Bowl Queen Jean Baker lasted over 20 years and produced 3 children. Many believed Jean was the love of Dean's life, and their marriage gave him a rare sense of stability during his hectic career. However, as the years went by, fame brought challenges that tested their relationship. The constant travel, public attention, and pressure to maintain a charismatic image slowly wore down their bond. By 1973, after years of shared happiness, Dean and Jane decided to divorce. The separation was quiet and painful, marking the end of a union many thought would last forever. Yet, just weeks after the divorce, Dean shocked everyone by marrying Catherine Hahn, a 26-year-old woman who was a former receptionist. The relationship was sparked by impulse and admiration, not deep compatibility. The age difference and quick courtship made headlines, and eyebrows raised among fans and friends. Unfortunately, their marriage lasted less than 3 years before falling apart, revealing that Dean's heart wasn't truly in it. Meanwhile, Dean's star was beginning to fade as the entertainment scene changed. The glamorous and smooth style of the Rat Pack era was giving way to a more rebellious, youth-oriented culture. This shift left Dean feeling more isolated, despite still performing and appearing on TV. He was admired for his effortless charm, but carried the weight of regret and loss. As the spotlight dimmed, Dean's personal struggles and tangled relationships reflected a man trying to find peace amid the changing tides of his life. Despite his fame as a singer and actor, Dean Martin was also a proud father and a man who deeply loved his family. When tragedy struck in March 1987, it changed him forever. His son, Dean Paul Martin, also known as Dino Jr., died suddenly in a plane crash. Dean Paul was flying an F-4 Phantom jet during a routine training mission with the California Air National Guard when the accident happened. He was only 35 years old and was admired not just by his family, but also by many who saw him as a talented and ambitious man. Dean Paul had many skills. He was a professional tennis player, a successful actor, and a brave aviator. His charm and athleticism reminded people of his father, but Dean Paul also had his own modern style. His death was a devastating blow that shook the entire family. Dean Martin was known for his calm demeanor and subtle smile, but after losing his son, he appeared haunted and broken. Those around him saw how he began to withdraw from the public eye, canceling performances and avoiding gatherings. The grief was overwhelming and left a permanent scar. The loss of Dean Paul was not only a tragedy for the family, but also the moment when Dean Martin's joy seemed to fade. The pain of losing his beloved son stayed with him and changed the way he looked at life moving forward. After his son's passing, Dean Martin gradually withdrew from the busy world that had once surrounded him. Although he still made occasional public appearances and fulfilled some commitments, it was clear that his enthusiasm for show business had waned. The energetic performer who had once filled theaters with laughter and music seemed to be seeking peace. Instead of seeking fame, he chose solitude and comfort at his home in Beverly Hills, where he could be close to his surviving children and a few trusted friends. Despite his 3 marriages, which faced difficulties and personal struggles, his relationship with his children remained important and steady. He found solace in simple routines like playing golf, watching late-night television, and sharing long dinners at familiar restaurants. Dean no longer worried about maintaining his status or reviving his career. Instead, he embraced a quieter life, avoiding interviews and public events. The vibrant Vegas star with his twinkling eyes was replaced by a reflective, older man who had experienced many successes and losses. These final years showed a clear departure from the glitz and glamour of his earlier days, becoming a period marked by quiet reflection and peace. Instead of living in bright spotlight, he chose the gentle glow of memories and the comfort of a calm, private life. As Dean Martin entered the 1990s, his health began to deteriorate, a consequence of a lifetime of smoking and hard living. In 1993, he was diagnosed with lung cancer. In typical Dean fashion, he faced this challenge with the same composed detachment that had always marked his public image. Despite being advised to undergo surgery, he chose not to take that route, instead opting for a natural decline. Throughout this time, he avoided drawing attention to his condition, keeping his struggle private. Dean stayed out of the hospital and chose not to provide updates to the public, keeping his health battle largely out of the media spotlight. He spent his final years at home, surrounded by family, gradually fading away from public view. On December 25, 1995, the world lost Dean Martin to acute respiratory failure at the age of 78. His death marked the end of an era, and the entertainment world mourned the loss of an icon. As a rare and fitting tribute, the lights on the Las Vegas Strip were dimmed in honor of the man who had helped make the city the entertainment capital it is today. Dean Martin's legacy continues to live on through his unforgettable music, films, and television appearances, cementing his place as a symbol of style, wit, and emotional depth. His influence remains strong, and even today, his voice continues to echo in lounges and homes, a testament to the enduring power of true cool. While the story of Dean Martin's life remains fascinating and complex, it is clear that beneath his charming exterior, he faced personal struggles that many did not realize. When his wife revealed his secrets, it caused a shock to those who admired him only for his public persona. The revelation showed that even the most glamorous and carefree people can be hiding pain and private suffering. Dean Martin's death was not just the end of a legendary singer and actor, but also the closing chapter of a life filled with emotional battles and hidden truths. His passing was marked by pain, both physical and emotional, and it reminded people that no one is invincible or completely happy inside. Despite the hardships he endured and the secrets he kept, Dean Martin's influence on entertainment remains lasting, and his story teaches us the importance of understanding the human behind the fame. As his true life was uncovered, it added a new layer of depth and reality to his legacy, showing that everyone has struggles that can sometimes lead to pain. His story continues to resonate, reminding us all that beneath every celebrity's smile, there may be untold stories of